what would joy do? How would joy do this? And will find the joy, because even in the darkest times, we can find joy in the journey.
Hello, dear listeners. It's that time again when we stroll through the paths of ambition, desire, and success. Welcome to the Dare to Declare podcast, where we explore the enchanting world of giant manifestors who've turned their visions and goals into the stuff of legends. I couldn't help but wonder, how do some people create the lives they've always dreamed of? Is it the magic of manifesting, the power of perseverance, or perhaps just a dash of serendipity? Well, dear friends, grab your coffee cups because we're about to spill the tea on fascinating journeys of those who dare to dream big and make it happen. Join me as we sip on success stories and ponder the ever-enticing question, can we all manifest our dreams into reality, or is it just an urban fairy tale? I'm your host, Debbi Sluys, and I'm here to guide you through the labyrinth of achievement with heart and soul. Ready to dare to declare? Let's get started.
Welcome everyone to today's episode. I am going to be speaking with Carol Elizabeth, and here's a little bit about her. She is a reinvention catalyst, international speaker, author, and identity coach, guiding women to tear down old foundations and rebuild from truth. At 55, she calls herself a walking proof of possibility, a woman who has burned it all down to rise again, not from what was, but from what's real. A former fitness professional turned transformational mentor, Carol has helped thousands of women awaken their power through her signature framework, the You School, her flagship program for women ready to design life on their own terms. After facing cancer, divorces, and the loss of everything she thought defined her, Carol's mission became clear: to ignite the spark of reinvention inside others, to show women that it's never too late to become who they're always meant to be. Her mantra is, you don't go for things, you grow for them. Her message is, you're building the greatest invention on the planet, you. Welcome, Carol.
Hello, Debbie. Wow. I love hearing that said. It's so fun. I'm like, yes.
I know. Whenever I get to hear mine too, I'm like, bippity boppity boo. It just feels magical. It's like,
Absolutely.
do that every day for us, right? Just read our bio again, just to remind us who the heck we are and what we're up to.
So one of the things I actually get women to do is make a future bio.
Oh, tell me about that.
Yeah. I am like, I started by almost doing it for myself. Like, what would my bio sound like if I was this? And this is well over a decade ago. And then those things started becoming truth. So it's like, if you're listening right now, what's your dream bio? If you think of your favorite podcast, maybe Debbie's having you on as a guest, what is the bio she reads for you? And so that allows me to tap into a next level and identity. And so it's pretty fun, because I don't know if you will agree with this, but hearing you say that, I'm also like, wow, Carol, like, wow, look what you've done, And so look what we still can do. So making a future bio, I mean, we're still here, we're still alive. We still have all the bio ahead of us.
Ah, so good. Yeah, I've never heard of that before. What I have my clients do is write a Dear Me letter. So once they've created their vision board, it's to write a letter to the future version of themselves as though it already has occurred. But it's the same thing, like you're talking about with this bio. It's like
Yep.
the future version. And so not creating your future from your past or even your present, but creating that future from your future. And I love that you said it actually happened. So let's dive into that and some of the things that you've accomplished. But we'll go to the past. So, in your bio, it talks about you being the former fitness professional. So tell the listener a little bit about your experience in the fitness world.
Yeah. So I didn't really get going in life of anything outside of odd jobs and sods, and then being a mom, which was really, if I look back on journals, something that was my like main goal, be a mom. And so, as often happens, we can lose ourselves in motherhood. And I thought that my unhappiness was tied to the extra squish on my body. And so at 37 years old, I was like, I think I'm not happy because my body is looking this way. And at that time, fitness magazines would show up at your house. And so I would read fitness magazines. Well, I had 3 kids in 3 years. So there was a time where they were all napping. So I would read fitness magazines and they all looked so happy. So I was like, okay, getting fit will make me happy. And so I started on a road to just lose some weight, honestly. And then that turned into an outlet. It turned into actually my first adventure into personal development, but I didn't know that at the time. And then I stepped on my first fitness stage at 39 years old. And honestly, it was the first time I'd ever accomplished something for myself that was, in my mind, extraordinary. It was also the first time people started to tell me I was great. And so we'll probably loop through this in the journey of, my needing other people to tell me I was great for a while in life. But, and so I spent almost actually a decade. I became a pro in my federations of choice at 43 and 46 years of age. I strutted. I had so much fun. I lost myself a little bit at the beginning. Once it was fun to like, oh, I better win. But I quickly kind of reframed that. But I learned a lot in the fitness world. When I went through my first divorce, it enabled me an outlet to start creating an online business, to start creating some extra money at the time. And so, yeah, fitness and the body. But what I always say is that while I got the body and ended up being in magazines and having all these trophies and titles, I still wasn't happy. So without the inner work, the body does not bring about happiness. The bank account doesn't bring happiness. Check, all the boxes don't bring happiness. That's the inner work, which is why I'm here. But it was a really wild ride to more so how other people treat you when your body changes to a certain level. It's a wild little ride and makes me very clear often why women, especially, kind of have this crazy head about our bodies, because the amount of women, I just regained my fitness again at 55 after a lot of life, but the amount of women that attach, oh, you're amazing, to having a fit body is wild. And it's like, well, I'm not amazing because I'm a fit, I was amazing 50 pounds ago. I was amazing. We're all amazing. But that's what I started with. I thought happiness was in a body. So I love that journey. I truly, I'm actually back into the mindset and what I did, even from a business building perspective then. So I would never be me without it. And I stepped on a stage again at 54 last year because I have so much fun and it's just a celebration. But it's been a wild ride, especially when I was the less than fit. For the last kind of 6 years, I hid that part of me. I was ashamed of that part of me. I would never have told anybody that part of me because I promised myself I'd never be that girl who said she did fitness and then looked the complete opposite from it. So lots to unpack there.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm curious, when you say people had opinions about your body. Well, one thing I just want to say about the amazing piece. Like, so the circles that I'm in, like when I hear that somebody said you are amazing, to me, if I were like, I would say that to you. You know why? Yes,
Yep.
because the way you look, but I actually really appreciate the discipline it
Yeah.
takes to get there. That's
Yes.
what I think is amazing. I would
Yes.
say people are amazing. Like, I would compliment women if they're amazing, if they have successful businesses. I would say a woman's amazing if she's got 3 babies under 3. I'm like, you're
Yeah.
amazing, right?
Yeah.
I would
Yeah.
say you're amazing if you have won titles, because that it takes something. It's an extraordinary way of being.
Yes, I appreciate that. Maybe the reflection is who's saying it to me. Maybe that's what I'm picking up on, is that the uh the desire, just like I had, that when I get fit, I'll be amazing. So thank you for that flip side of it. But absolutely, it was more the women that I knew were sad and longing and needing and wanting, if they could only,
Right.
that was the more that I got. But from you, I mean, I am amazing, that's for certain. But
Yeah.
it just was a very clear, woo, this is a wild, interesting part. Yeah.
Yeah. So tell me a bit about, because you said, well, you would know like how people responded to your body changing? I actually don't know. I'm not in that world. And I know,
Yep.
there's different worlds, like it's almost like a culture, right?
Yeah. Oh, yes.
So
So,
tell us a little bit more about that. Give us a peek into what it takes, but also
yeah.
maybe some of the dark side, some of the light side around that.
Yeah, I mean, the fitness world is a wild little world, and it's changing and evolving. When I did it, I'm a natural competitor. That has changed a lot, especially for the young crew, which is sad to me. It is a world much like you said. It is discipline. It is an area where you're doing things that a lot of people wouldn't do in terms of consistency. You put a lot of time at the gym, and again, different people do it at different levels. I was a single mom, 3 kids. And I was older, so I didn't lose myself in it. But it's an interesting thing because there's a level about when you are on a health journey, but then when you're on a journey where you're standing on stages in bikinis and like beautiful, blinged out, But I remember as I got fitter and fitter, the mums around the schoolyard stopped hanging around me. And then when I would stand on do a show, I remember one particular mom. She was awesome, and she would celebrate me, and she would give me encouragement all the time. And I remember thinking, if I was running a race, all of these women that I'm hanging around the schoolyard with would probably be on the corner with signs saying, go, Carol, yay, yay, yay. But I'm on a stage now strutting, and I mean, there's nothing sexualized about it other you're in a fitness show, it was really interesting how like, no, we don't see you. That's nothing, because it was whatever it was. And so it becomes a very lonely space. And you also have people saying, oh, what do you mean you can't? I'd go to book club and they're like, well, aren't you going to drink the wine, and aren't you going to eat the cake? And I'm like, well, I have a goal. And they're like, I'd rather be fat. And I'm like, oh, okay, I don't care. This is just my goal. And so it's more a reflection of your habits on somebody else's habits and how that makes them feel uncomfortable more often. As you know, with success too, and that kind of thing, sometimes so it's no different than any other pocket of life where you do something out of the box. It makes people that are, in line often quite uncomfortable. So the world, I love any world where I'm with people that are like-minded. And to be successful in any area that you are desiring, you must be around people that are like-minded. And so like every world has a side of people that are doing it for the right reasons, and then there's the dark side of the people that want the fame, want the validation, use drugs and these types of things. And I have all and are really quite sad, especially younger people, because it's become their entire world. And if they don't win, they suck. And if they only have 4 abs, they are horrible. And it's a very interesting world. So as all things are, but I do love the challenge. In fact, a year and a half ago, maybe, yeah, when I had just kind of reclaimed my wellness, I was at a business retreat, and I had been really kind of stepping into this next level of my business and what I offer and coaching. And at this mastermind in Miami, I was kind of saying how I was in this space between everyone wanting me to do fitness, but that was not me anymore. That's not what I was there for. And the gentleman said, do you know, Carol, it's easier to make. I was having that in between of ownership of my identity in the coaching space. And he said, do you understand, Carol, it's easier to make $1 million in business than to live in a body like you have. So to your point, you in this body speaks to a discipline and a different level that you have. So own that. And I was just like, oh, okay, there's the blend. Thank you. So it's always nice to have the reframe.
I agree. I love that. I love that you got to that and that you had a mentor that could point that out to you. Because often what I find with my clients is that they step over what comes most natural to them, and then looking for something outside of that. And yet your gold is in those habits, the choices that you made. But you also brought up something really interesting that now you can use, and I'm sure you do with women, whatever their goal is, whether it be fitness or whether it be monetary, whether it be not for profit, impacting, making a foundation. This idea of finding your people, like finding
Yeah.
your cloud of witnesses, finding your cheerleaders, because there are people that are naysayers, because your brightness makes them realize that they're not moving, they're not growing, like you talked about growing, and they're not willing. It's, they decided, but they're wanting to pull you down instead of allowing you to support them to rise. So finding those people, yeah, I think that's a really amazing message, that yes, you can speak it, but you're living it. And I think that's even more powerful than telling somebody, but that you've lived this. Like experience is one of the best teachers, right?
Yeah, there's the gift of our vintage years of all of that for sure.
Yeah. And so I'm just going to pop this in for the listener. If you haven't already heard, I'm running a conference in Niagara Falls, in Niagara on the Lake. The reason I'm doing that in June of 2026 is because exactly that. I Entrepreneurs can find themselves feeling lonely. This whole idea of being solopreneur. And so what I get to do is gather ambitious, like-minded entrepreneurs to say, here, come to 2.5 days, refuel, find, people that, may be a colleague, could be a joint venture partner, and could be end up being a friend or a business bestie. But, this is where people are not about pulling other people down, but rather cheering when people are rising. Yeah. So.
Absolutely. I would not be anything in my life without communities of events and masterminds and the things like you're doing, because I would have followed my inner thoughts that told me I wasn't capable. But being inside of rooms like that, and you see people doing stuff, that when I actually saw a woman on a fitness cover, because I told myself why I couldn't get fit back then was that I was 40 and a mom of three. And I told myself the story that every girl in fitness was younger and didn't have kids. And then there was a cover of a fitness magazine, girl who actually had 6 kids. And then, of course, we tell ourselves the story that it's airbrushed and it's not real. And then I met her at an event, and she was real, and she had 6 kids, and she was my maybe 2 years younger than me. And so I call it proof of possibility, because it's all possible. And when you go to these events and you see women that are doing the thing you want in the way that you want, local to your area, then all of a sudden you can too. So nothing better than that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And then, you've had these successes, but you've also had some real trauma in your life, and so you've experienced cancer. Can you share a bit about that as well, and how that has shaped decisions that you've made, and your identity?
Yeah, absolutely. I was diagnosed with breast cancer in 2019, May of 2019. And I see everything in life as a blessing lesson. And I was, knee deep into personal development and growth since 2008. I started it on the step mill as a way to make sure I won shows, but it turned into, so much more. And so when I got the diagnosis, obviously I went deep and went dark. It was right before Mother's Day. My eldest son was 2 weeks out from graduating high school. My daughter was about to be 16. My youngest was about to graduate from grade 8. And I just was like, I don't know if I'm going to make it 4 days. Your brain goes dark, and then the reticular activating system tunes in, and all I saw was women sharing their mothers who were all passed from breast cancer. Like, it was like
Oh,
everywhere.
oh no.
Yeah, of course, because that's what, so I remember it being a very, very rainy season in Toronto at that time. And I just was walking my dogs and watching the rain, and I was mad. I was mad at when I saw old people. I was mad. And then I said, okay, Carol, you know a mindset. There's some things about this, and that your thoughts become things. And that this anxiety and this stress is a made up story that you're making for yourself. You don't know what this is going to look like, and you're feeling like absolute garbage. So let's lean into the things that you've learned. And so I started to like remind myself that I don't know what the outcome is, and all I can control is my mood. I can't, and what I attach to it. And I again started looking for proof of possibility. My friends whose mothers had gone through it 40 years ago, and my other friend who had it 2 years ago. And so then I started seeing everywhere beautiful examples of how this was something that was just a blip, not a book, not even a whole page in my book, And so I really rooted into that. Energetics. I took my fitness. I obviously had there, and I read one book, and it was cool because the book represented so many things that I was already doing pretty well. Positive attitude, that it had a belief in something higher than you. And up until then, I didn't really have anything like that. I was just getting into the spiritual realm of universe, but I wasn't like fully in belief of any of that. I wasn't raised religious. And then it became, some of the deeper work. And I went to energy healers and really started to understand a role of myself. I was remarried by then. And so I was battling, like making my kids happy, making my new kid happy, or my new kid, huh? my husband at the time, you know, that was not by accident that came out of my mouth. No, hence the second divorce. But at the time, that's what I was doing. And so the energy was just me giving, giving, giving. And that's why I believe that cancer came. And I meditated and asked cancer why it was there. And I heard to have more joy. And I remember having a conversation back and forth because I was like, I'm happy. By then I had built a massive online business. I had a residual income. I didn't have to worry about working. I was the sole breadwinner. Money, whether I had to be at radiation every day for 6 weeks or have these surgeries, I didn't have to worry about money. And I was remarried and I thought it was great. And my kids were, awesome. So I was like, I'm happy. And right away I heard there's such a difference between happiness and joy, Carol. And so I was still working. And now looking back, I know that my fulfillment was still in people telling me I was great. It went from fitness, you're great, to, oh, you're great at business. You're a great leader. You're great. You're great. You're great. And so I started thinking, well, what brings me joy? And it is little things like new leaves and sunsets and sunrises and fireworks and my puppies at the time and any second with my kids and dancing and music and all things that had nothing to do with titles, achievements, or any of that. And so at that time, I had a big wall calendar in the big giant house I bought myself that I thought I needed to have all the things. And I had all the plans, right? All the plans on the calendar. I had days crossed off. Obviously, it was May. And then I had all the plans, okay, when I get there and when I get there and when I do that. And I stood in front of this calendar right that day. I meditated and I just looked and said, like, how dare you? How dare you scratch these days off like they're freaking nothing? You're not even paying attention to them. And you're anticipating this. And when I get that and when that, and you don't even know how long you're going to be here. So the job is to, instead of crossing off days on the calendar, look for joy and find joy every day, no matter what that is, because it's easy to do when you're looking for it. And it's not in the bank account or the body fat or any of that. It is, at that time, my kids were home and cuddles with my then husband or whatever that was. And I said, I will no longer cross off days. I will look for joy and I will circle on my calendar. And I had an orange Sharpie nearby and I will circle. And my goal is, for as long as I am blessed to live, I will look at a calendar and see orange all over it, circles, joy circles all over it. I made a tattoo of a joy circle to remind myself later about it. And so that has shaped so much of my life. So when things continue to happen, as life does, I just keep saying, what would joy do? How would joy do this? And will find the joy, because even in the darkest times, we can find joy in the journey. I mean, it sounds like but it's truth. It's completely redefined who I am. I didn't take things seriously much before, but I really don't now. I have no F's left. And I'm here to live out my purpose as long as I can. And it's just extra oomph. But the most important gift that I got there really was how much really doesn't matter. And that no matter what goals we have, if we're not rooted in some things that bring us joy, we'll get to wherever and not feel fulfilled. So like having things without joy is just not anything that I desire. So that really allowed me to then tap more into my soul and my spirit, and take my mindset and then say, okay, wait a minute. If I use that through cancer, and then I used it through other things, that's really where my mindset coaching and my methods have come from, is what do I do? How do I stop and reframe and allow the feelings out, of course, but see the world in just a really different, lens. When the pandemic happened, right? Just after that, and everyone was most people all up in arms. And I just said, the other option, and part of me, is that we're not alive to experience this. So when anything comes to me, I'm like, well, this would have sucked to miss this. So it just, to me, every adventure is a beautiful gift that we get to go on. And some of them are going to be high highs and some of them are going to be lows, but how great we're alive.
Yeah. Makes you think of that song, like Live Like You're Dying, right? And it sounds like you absolutely have embraced that. So let's talk a bit about your U School.
Yeah.
Who do you support? So as you said, you've been a successful entrepreneur. You are in the multi-level marketing space.
Yeah, I have that as a side. That's always been a side biz of mine, but it absolutely is where I learned a lot of personal development. I've been in there for 15 years, always alongside other things I do. I think it's one of the greatest spaces for people to begin entrepreneurship, and I think that anybody that's got a service base with clients, being able to utilize some of the products and the teachings and help build a team. Yeah, I love the space. I call it multi-level magic, because to me, it's just a really great thing. So that's been alongside. I had the fitness coaching, and now I do mindset and business coaching. Yeah, that's
the U School, is the mindset and the business coaching.
Yeah. So U School is mindset. Grow for It is the business coaching wing of it. And so U School really just came to me about 6 months ago, maybe, when I was a guest on a podcast. I'm always, figuring out what I name. The frameworks have stayed the same, but the names that I call it kind of change. But I was on a podcast and I said, you know what? I wish that women understood that they actually have the power to change. And because I was in a magazine, a coaching magazine, and the gentleman asked me, why do you think it's so hard for women often, and he meant men too, but it would to change. And I said, I just don't think most women know they can. And so then I started talking on this other podcast about, I just wish women understood how much power we actually have in the way that we think and we feel. And I said, we just need to go to U School. And then we both stopped, and I said, that's really good. And she's like, that's really good. And so I'm that girl. I create words. And so U School really means your own upgrade, because I'm not here to tell you. And whether you're upgrading your wellness, whether you're upgrading your mind, whether you're upgrading your business, your identity, whatever that is, we must be willing to figure us out.
Yeah.
And to see how we tick, and to understand the noise, the voices in our head, a U4 framework are the different voices. But when I learned that I am not my thoughts, I'm the thinker of my thoughts, that changed my life. And so that's what I really want to help.
Say that
I am not my thoughts. I'm the thinker of my thoughts. Mm-hmm. And so, if you're listening, which you're listening, you're not, you're listening. And if you are a type of woman or gentleman that wakes up saying, I'm not good enough, I feel like garbage, oh, another day, the government and if you're not feeling good, I adore you, but you're thinking yourself into that energy. And that is what I really want to help women focus in on, because you can turn it around, and it's an ongoing job. But the Project U, we hear about a lot. I used to call one of my fitness groups Project U, and it was all about fitness. But if we're not willing to do Project U of the brain and here and what we actually want and do the work, we'll get the things and not be happy. So I'm like, okay, now I get to go to the foundation of that, and I'm obsessed with it. So as you know, when we're obsessed with it and we love it and we want to help people, they can feel it. And that's a good thing.
Absolutely. So there's something that you want to give to the listener?
Yes. So I've got a quiz that's around the U4 framework, which is really like what I've talk about the four voices. And some of them are louder than others. And then there's others that we kind of want to start turning on a little bit more to be able to be guided by our soul, guided by our spirit, guided by the thing that we really want to do. And so this quiz will be, it's very short questions that will bring out a little assessment for you to see who's leading, who's doing the talking, who's kind of, driving the car, who's steering the ship. And so you can go to carolelizabeth.com/self and you can get that. There will also be a little private podcast attached to that, very short episodes, but you'll be able to hear me speaking into you. And that's really my zone of genius, is speaking raw, real truths into you based on kind of who's doing the talking. And will help you really just shift some awareness so that you can shift your energy and your frequency as you go through a day, because we all have highs and we all have dips and we have things that go on. And so I just want to help give you some tools to be able to navigate that.
Well, thank you. That's an amazing gift. And so how can people get a hold of you if they want to have a conversation with you?
Yeah, you can actually go to carolelizabeth.com/clarity. I have a free clarity session, a vision clarity session. So you can book that in. You can grab me on Instagram at @IM_Carol Elizabeth, or you send me an email, info@carolelizabeth.com, carrier pigeons, whatever, smokestacks, all the places.
Well, I always love speaking with a fellow Ontarian, Canadian, which is like so fun. And, same generation, and just to listen to all of what you've accomplished, but also you have so much more creating from your future, right? So that future bio. So I'd be curious to read your bio again in 10 years and to read that out to this audience. So Carol, thanks so much for being here. If there's any final last words you want to leave with the listener?
Yeah, I would just love to say, if anything's resonating with you here, it's for a reason. You are listening to Debbi for a reason. And if your voice dips to say, I wish I could, if only, that's your inner critic voice speaking. And just know that you've got the power, no matter what's going on in your life, you can find joy, look for joy, and it will find you, and it will help you go through the lowest lows, and it'll raise your highest highs even higher.
So good. And yeah, my message from me is don't forget to dare to declare. Today, we've delved into the realm of manifesting giants, exploring the power of declaring our desires to the universe with unapologetic boldness. But before we bid adieu, I have a little something special to share with all of you dreamers out there. Introducing the Dare to Declare Vision Board magazine and online DIY Vision Board course, your ticket to manifesting greatness in style. Picture this: flipping through pages filled with inspiring images, empowering quotes, and step-by-step guides to help you create the vision board of your dreams. Whether you're yearning for that spacious condo with a view, or a love that sets your soul on fire, our magazine is here to guide you every step of the way. Dive deep into the art of manifesting with our exclusive online DIY vision board course. Led by manifesting expert, yes, yours truly, and seasoned dreamers, this course will teach you the ins and outs of creating a vision board that speaks to your heart and soul. So what are you waiting for? Join the ranks of the manifesting giants and dare to declare your wildest dreams to the universe. Head over to our website, DebbiSluys.com, and grab your copy of the Dare to Declare Vision Board magazine and enroll in our online DIY Vision Board course today. Until next time, keep dreaming big and daring to declare, because in the world of manifesting, the sky's the limit.